Well, my friends, I'm back. This is Jay, and I am back with step number 6, the last step of my sweater knit-along style number 1 for 2021. And this step number 6, I'm calling the sleeves or not and all the trim. So, the reason I was thinking of that because as I was getting ready to finish, like I said, this has been a long process and I didn't want to go too far, to keep it going. So I just thought I'd go ahead and do this little short sleeve style just to give you a break, but then give you some information so that you can make a decision for yourself. And then I have some of my older sweaters to show you the pros and cons or things that I like about this particular style. Number 1, I'm going to have 4 styles to show you. And then that way you can kind of find which one or which style fits your body or which style that looks good on you. So, on this style number 1, since I've made sleeves on a lot of the other sweaters, I thought I'd show you this quick way to just end, so if you want to get through but yet have a finished look, not just stop, but have a nice finished look. All right, so here it is. Now, let's see if I'm on camera and if you can see this. I think so. All right, let's talk a minute about this sweater. We've started this sweater from scratch. That's the whole point of the exercise. To find a stitch in a stitch book. You have some numbers, you know how to get the numbers, or you've worked with me and you have numbers that you can use that fit your body. And then we started at the very bottom. This is style number 1, working from the bottom up of the sweater, but it was worked in one piece. Now, on this particular sweater, when we did the separating of the back from the front, remember we were knitting this big piece of fabric and then it was time to separate. And when we separated, we didn't bind off any stitches. We left it more like a steep tight sleeve. When some of you have seen people knitting the round and then they'll come back and either they'll steek it or cut down or they'll separate, but there's not like a definite space for your arm. It's like a slit. Oh, look, I need to show you on this side. See, it's more like a slit. It just stops right there, and then it goes all the way to the top to where the front meets the shoulders, and then we did the 3-needle bind off on the last step. So now we have this big armhole, this big, like a split in the fabric. Does that make sense? All right. So on this slit, like I said, this is just one particular way, a style, just something that we're practicing, that we're trying. That's what we're doing. We're trying out different methods and different things. And so then, now we are up to picking up stitches around this big armhole split. Just right down here, we're just going to pick up some stitches. And the great thing about it, you don't have to sew any side seams. But you also, I found on this particular style, and I'll show you in just a minute the difference, you don't have a lot of underarm room. See right here, it comes into a pretty nice, like a V. Can you see the V? It's really nice. And some sweaters that you buy in the store do that. They just come into a V or a blouse. But it doesn't have the full range of motion to me for your arm. But now, I'm a lot fluffier than I'm going to show you the ones that I used to do. And that has made a difference. But this is what we're going to do. This is we're going to simply pick up stitches. And I'm going to show you, we're just simply going to work our simple 1-by-1 ribbing to match the bottom of the sweater. But I do need to make a correction. Or not a correction, just some FY. When I left, I said, get your needle ready, because when we pick up stitches, the traditional method is for you to go down in your needle size. We worked this sweater in number 9, okay, the whole sweater. So traditionally then for your sleeve, you'd maybe go down to a number 8 to pick up stitches. Not when you're working a sweater in the round, because you don't want to change the gauge on the sleeve. The sleeve is already connected to the sweater. These we actually pick up. And that works fine as long as you're a small size. This is what I need to add. If you're small to medium, and maybe large, but small to medium, you can go down a needle size. If you're a seasoned knitter like me, and that's what you're used to, and that's how you've done other sweaters, following pattern, that's fine. But if you're fluffy, if you're one of the fluffy ones like me, large or 1X, 2X, whatever, you need to stay with the number 9. So instead of an 8/16, like a smaller person can do, I thought, Jay, what were you thinking? No, you need to stay with, I needed my 9/16s. My number 9/16s, so that, because, as you get fluffier, you get a little more, one thing about it, when we're doing this ribbing is going to pull in and make it a little snug on your arms. And if you are of a fluffier size like me, that may not be comfortable. You may think, oh, gee, I need a little more room. So if you go with your 9/16s instead of 8s, I think you will like it better. I think you'll get a better fit. So quickly, I had started, and then I realized my mistake for my fluffier size fans. So I took it out and then picked up with my number 9. And then, like I say, there is my arm space or my sleeve in the slit. So now, before we pick up, now on camera, I'm going to pick up a little on this and tell you how I did this. And then we're going to get to, our neckline. So let me move this just for a minute, just to give you some background on some of my older sweaters, just a couple. I'll be right back. All right, I just wanted to come back and show you the difference between this same style number 1, but what I was sharing with you about the sleeve or the arm opening. I just want to try something different. So on the blue sweater, I just did a split. But this is how I would normally make this style sweater. First of all, I want you to see the pretty bottom edge of this sweater. Not only is the color pretty, but let's see, can I pull this up a little bit so you can see the pretty lace edge? Isn't that pretty? Now I'm going to pull it back down slowly. See, that's really pretty. Can you see how slim I was? No, this was my sweater. I guess you said, Jay, that wasn't yours. Yes. In fact, I have a picture way back a few years. You can look on my YouTube. We were at the knit shop. I think it was my birthday. I'm wearing this sweater. It's real pretty. But what I was saying is, I just want you to see the difference so that you'll have something to know. Well, first of all, and you can see the nice little border there. Man, I love this sweater. I didn't know about YouTube and all that. I just was making sweaters. All right, so I'm going to pull it over so that you can see the underarm, the sweater, the sleeve portion. And let me see if I'm on camera. Yeah, I think I can demonstrate, okay? All right, so now here's this sleeve section. On this one, we've been knitting across, and then when we got to the sleeve, all of the ones that I made before, before I tried to do the YouTube, before I tried to do this one, the blue, and trying to, just try something different, I would always stop and leave a whole section up under the arm for a sleeve space. What I would do is take 4 stitches from the front and 4 stitches off the back. I just take those stitches away from the front. So here are the 4, and then I take 4 stitches from the back. So that would make 8. 4 and 4 is 8. And then I would do a decrease on the front side of the arm space and on the back. So if I have 8 here, and if I needed 3, now watch, 8, remember that number 8, and then I decrease on the front side 8, 9, 10, 11. At least 3. If you need to go larger, you can go 4. Okay, but 8, 9, 10, 11, and then on the back, 12, 13, 14. Does that make sense? Can you see that? I would simply make a nice, so now if you look, it looks like a big hole. Instead of a slit or a little split like I have on the blue one, I'm just showing you how I used to do them so that I can decide, you know. But you have a much larger space to have to fill in, because now you've got to fill in this big hole with some 1x1 ribbing or sleeve or 2x2 ribbing or something. Now, on like I said, on the blue one, I would stay with a 9 because I'm larger. But on this one, I'm sure that I probably went down to an 8 to bring this fabric in so that it would close up this big opening. And look, and I had to do quite a few rows. Look how wide or high the length of the ribbing, just to kind of get it to close up this big space. So I was just trying to do something different before I went back to this. But after looking at that one and putting it on, it fits good. But this one I have more, I feel more, I don't know, I have more arm movement. Let's put it that way. Because it's a bigger opening for the actual sleeve and for your arm. So it depends on how many stitches you need to decrease here. Some people, some small sizes probably didn't need but 6. And then I'm in the middle, so I would always bind off 8. Like I said, smaller, maybe 6, then 8. And then usually 8's enough. For all larger sizes, 8 stitches you can bind off. And then decrease the same number on the sides. Does that make sense, or did I botch it? I'm just showing you this so that you can get an idea, because the next time we do one, we'll probably go back to this style, a little more decorative, a little more softer. This is some Karen Simply Soft, so it feels a little lighter. Now, what we're going to work on tonight, once we work on the sleeve, I show you how to pick up the sleeve, then guess what? Then we will pick up a collar. Now look at this. As you can see, you can tell I was smaller because it's just all 2x2 ribbing. Does that help you to see? I'm trying to, so that you can see what I'm talking about, not me just telling something up in the air. I want you to be able to see it, and then when we come back again to make this particular style, we can. Another thing, like I said, on the blue one, I stopped just like I stopped on this one, but you can continue to knit and knit this 2x2 or 1x1 ribbing into a sleeve. You can, and I'll remind you when we go back to the blue. So let me get to the blue, and we're going to pick up the opposite sleeve, and let's get started. All right, but I wanted you to see how pretty it looks in a little different way, but yet it's the same. Back in just a minute. All right, so I have my number 9, like I said, smaller sizes. If you want to use a number 8, 16-inch in length for your pickup, that's fine, but all larger, fluffier sizes stay on a number 9 to match the sweater. I have a marker. I'm going to need a little marker. And it's just as simple as all our other pickups. I start down here. There's, like I said, it's just a split. You just have like a little split in the yarn there. You can see where one side starts and the other side ends. And you want to go up under 2 strands. So you just stick your needle right there. And then, of course, just kind of loop it over your finger. Leave a nice long tail for in case we have to patch any holes or anything. So you just loop it over, and then you just start bringing that yarn through onto the needle. Now, let me talk for a minute before we even do that. All right, you have to have an idea. If you've knit sweaters with me before, maybe you've done one with a sleeve or a pattern. And you know a sleeve, you have an idea of a sleeve count that fits your upper arm. You know, some people are really heavy in the arm, some are light. I'm getting a little thicker, but usually I'm pretty light. My stitch count, a good stitch count for me, if I aim at 60, 64 is giving me a nice looser sleeve. But if I aim at 60, that's good. So probably a small to medium, you probably can aim for around 56. Does that make sense? And if you're, like I said, over, fluffier size than I am, if 60 is too small, you can aim for 64 or 68. Something like that. You have to know about how many stitches it's going to take to fill up your, or I call it your best arm stitch count. My best sleeve or arm stitch count is 60 stitches. So I'm going to aim, as we start to pick up, I'm going to aim to pick up 30 stitches on this side all the way up to our shoulder seam. Can you see the shoulder seam? And then, of course, I'll try to pick up 30 on this side. So make your numbers come out nice and even. That's what works so well with my system. They're even numbers, they're compatible, and they just work out. They just save you a lot of headache. So now I'm going to start picking up. I'm just going to kind of guesstimate here, and I'll hold the working yarn in the tail for a couple of stitches just to lock in that tail. I know there'll be 2 strands, but I know that just use it as one. And I'm just going to work my way up under. Like I say, I'm going to try to aim or pick up 30 stitches. Now I can drop that tail. 30 stitches. Let me move my little, you can see I didn't iron out my little cord. And you but make sure you go up under 2 strands so that you have a good connection on this sleeve. And you just kind of work it up. There's no, some people try to measure. I just have to just do it, and then if it's wrong, I pull it back and do it again. Like I said, I'm not a professional, I just have to just figure it out as I go. But you see how I'm just going up under 2 strands and putting the yarn around the needle just like I knit, pull the loop through, and then I stop. You can tighten up a little bit. Now you can get an idea about how many you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I got to do 30. So I may be picking them up too far apart. After you go a while, or you can go say, okay, halfway up will be 15. Let's see if I can go halfway up and get about 15. 7. Let's go 8, 9. Oh, I think I can do that. I just need to put them a little close together. 10, 11, 12, 13. That's half of 30, half of my number. 14. Let's see what this looks like. See if I'm about halfway. Okay, now I'm going to spread it out. Oops, I dropped a couple of stitches. I'm going to lay it down and I'm going to look. Well, that looks about like halfway. And so now here's the other half. So I've got to get 15 up to here, up to the seam. So let me see if I can do that. And that's what you're going to be aiming for. You'll take half your sleeve count number, make it even, so that you can go half up and then maybe do half and then work down the same way. So let me go around off camera and then I'll come back and show you what I have. But that's how easy it is to just start picking up as we work around the sleeve. Alright, back in just a minute. Alright, I have gone around and I've counted my stitches to make sure I had the number that I needed. I needed for my entire stitch count, sleeve count, 60 stitches. And I did 30 up this side and 30 down this side. Now what I'm going to do, just in case I maybe have lost a stitch or maybe I miscounted, because even I have counted things more than once and still was off. So after I After you finish counting, now you're going to need, we're going to be doing the 1 by 1 ribbing. So in the round, we have an even number. So you're going to take your little marker. We need to put it right here at the, as we start to knit around. And I'm going to completely knit this first round. And this way, if you see that you have maybe some way that you can count as you knit around again just to make sure, but if you see that you are missing a stitch, or when you did your count you think, oh gee, I missed a stitch, but I hate to take it all back out, this is where you can correct it or find a little place to slip one in. Happens all the time, people. Knit happen. So even though you counted and maybe you did come up short and you go, oh man, I got to take it all out and do it again. No, this round right here, you can slip in a stitch if you're missing a stitch here or there. You just have to find a space that looks big enough that you can sneak in one. So, but we're just simply going to knit all the way around. We're haven't started the ribbing yet. We're just knitting around. Now where I held my 2 yarns together, when I started, I'll just knit those as one. So I'm just knitting around now. I put my mark in so I'll know where the beginning of the round, and there will be a little hole there, but that's what we will sew up, that little bitty hole. Let's see, can I kind of turn without messing up everything? I won't try to do all this on camera, but I just wanted to get it started, get you started. So now they may be a little tight, and like I said, if you are a little need a little more space, then you could have easily gone up 4 stitches or so. You know, like next time, I probably think, if I'm going to do this ribbon again, I think I need 64. 60 felt a little tight, but the other arm is 60, so I couldn't change this one. But I thought about it when I was working on the other one, you know, off camera, but I thought, I've got to get this sweater done. So always be mindful of that. And this ribbon pulls in. So see, I could have said, okay, I'm going to do 1 by 1 ribbon, or eventually you could do 2 by 2, whatever. You can always allow some extra stitches because that's what it does. It pulls in, and it may be a little snugger than you want. So it's always, since my numbers are so easy to just go up or down, you can go up by 2 or go up by 4. You can come down by 2 or come down by 4. Very easy. So maybe the next time I might just make my stitch count 64, just to make sure I have a little extra room. Alright, so now you see that I'm knitting around, just regular knitting. After I pick up the stitches, I knit 1 row, counting or making sure, or if when I did do the count and I saw that maybe somewhere I left off or missed a stitch, I find a little place I can just knit 1 in. Does that make sense? Alright, I will continue to knit around. Don't forget to put your marker in the beginning here, and I will see you back in just a minute. Alright, so I am back at the mark. Like I said, don't worry about that little gap. That's what we'll sew up. It's just a little gap, but at least it's not a whole seam on this one. Alright, and we didn't bind off any stitches like I was sharing with you the other version. Alright, so we're going to start with a knit, and we're simply going to knit and then yarn in front, purl. Then knit, and then yarn in front, purl. And this is what you're going to just work around. Your armhole, your sleeve hole. Alright, knit, purl, then knit, and purl. Knit, and purl. And you're going to work around just like we've done over and over. The thing to remember is that we start with a knit, and when you end, you have to end with a purl. When you come back around, it needs to end with a purl. If not, you've got a stitch too many or something, or you may have to back up and see if you kind of messed up or did your count off, but just check it back up and see, like, oh, I may have put 2 knits together by mistake or something. But we start with a knit, but you should end on this side of the marker with a purl stitch, and then of course slide the marker and continue to go around. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl all the way. Now, let's see. Let me check the other one. Let me go ahead and put my caps on because I don't want to lose my stitches at this stage. All right, just to kind of show you. It's no different than what we've done in, the other times we've done our 1x1 ribbing. So can I get this on camera a little better? Okay, so now you can see, and by now because we have our shoulders seamed up, you can actually kind of stop and stick your arm in there and see how it feels. You could have done that even before, after you picked up your stitches. And the only thing is, it's an illusion. When you have your stitches on the needle, it's going to be tight. And it's so hard. That's why you need to have a stitch count in mind for your arm. You can take the bottom of the sweater or another sweater and put it around your arm and actually count how many stitches you think you need, and make it come out to be a nice even number. So like I said, next time I'll probably just do 64 to make sure that I have a little extra wiggle room. But right now on this one I had 60, so I have to make that side match. I don't know what I had on those original sweaters, but you can see they're a lot larger. So I probably used a larger number. I probably had like 68. But you can see. And so then you decide on how long you want it. All right, this is just, I thought we'd just stop on this one, just make it a short sleeve. And I did at least 2 inches. So I did at least 2 inches on this little short ribbing. But now you can continue, as long as you don't have any problem, like I said, with your arms being too heavy or too large, you can continue to rib this sweater for as long as you want and make it a sleeve. And it just keeps pulling in nicey nice, and you don't have to do any kind of decreasing because this does the decreasing for you. So I started to do that and I pulled it back because I wanted to get through. And but yes, you can continue to do 1x1 ribbing for as long as you want. Stop every once in a while. You can try your sweater on, see where you want to stop the sleeve. Does that make sense? So that's one reason I wanted to do this one, so you can have an option. You can stop it here. Now, when you bind off, the main thing is to bind off in pattern. I've shared with you some other little, things I do sometimes. But for this, you need to stay in the pattern. So you'd bind off, you'd knit a stitch, and then purl a stitch, and then reach back and bind off. Then you do whatever the next stitch was, knit, and then reach back and bind off. Purl, reach back and bind off. Knit, purl, knit. You will stay in the pattern. That's one thing you need to do when you're doing this. You just need that looseness. You don't need a funny, crazy bind off that won't kind of move or stretch with your arm. So see, that's the bind off where I did it in pattern, and look at it. See, it just, even if I didn't add those extra stitches, it has enough elasticity to move. All right, so just remember that. Bind off in pattern after you work however many inches, whether you want to work 2 or 3 inches of the ribbing, and then bind off in pattern, or if you want to work a whole sleeve. You want to design your own. And so Jay, I decided to try to see how the sleeve would go. Be sure to send me some pictures and let me know your version. But bind off even that one in pattern. All right, what I'm trying to get to now is a neckline. So let me clear this up and we will be back. I will still be working on another number 9. If you're small size and you want to work with a number 8, you can. The next needle I suggest is like a 24 or 29 inch needle. In fact, all my clovers are stuck in something, so I have this little 29. I think this is a 29 inch little old metal needle that I'll come back real quick and get you started on the neckline. Okay, well, this is number 8, so I need to get my number 9. So if you've done number 9, stay with the 9s. If you're smaller size and you like doing number 8s for this section, you can. I hope I didn't botch that. I'm knitting at night again. That's my Achilles heel. I put everything off till late at night. I don't know. I just kind of drag around all day putting this off. Then I have to gear myself up around 8 or 9 o'clock. You can do it. You can do it, Jane. All right. Work on your sleeves, and then I will be back to get you started on the neckline. All right, back in just a minute. All right, so I was able to, I looked, because I didn't want to use that little metal needle. I was able to find one, a vacant or empty 9. I think this is a 929, so that'll work just perfect. All right, like I say, I'm excited to get through. It's not that I'm tired of knitting a sweater. It's just that I've got other things on the needle that I want to get off so I can share with you. So let's get to this neckline, and then hopefully I will have a new project to share after this one. Be a surprise. All right, so we have our neckline now. I don't know any kind of formula or something or some kind of special way to do this. I just guesstimate. Like I said, I'm not a professional knitter. I don't know if there's some kind of formula or something. But I'm going to see how many stitches can I pick up from this edge up to my first seam, to my shoulder seam. See that shoulder seam right there? I'm going to kind of, I know that I don't want to make it, I don't want a lot of stitches. I'm just going to just nicely spread them out, and then I'm going to count and see how many we get. So let's get started with this. Let me just check and see if I'm on one more time. See how it looks. If I need to pull it down or closer. I don't want to be off camera too much though. It's a big piece, and it's a lot of neckline to get on here. Okay, let's go with this. Alright, so here I have my number 9. Now, right here at the edge of, the front edge of our neckline, you see that? Where we bound off the stitches. You could put your needle right up under the first 2 strands that you can get. Right on, as close to or right on the edge as possible. Does that make sense? Alright, now I want you to take your needle out and then turn it. Turn the neckline so that you're actually on this, on the front edge. And I want you to find the first stitch there. Can you see how that looks? Okay, so this is where I want to start. It just makes a nicer join, and it makes a nicer edge. So I'm just going to make my little loop like you normally would join, and loop it over the needle, and then pull that loop through. I'm on the edge right here. Now I can go into that, remember that stitch I had you to find the first one right up under here, under 2 strands, right there. See, now I can go into that stitch and pull the, let's see, can I get, I'm holding both, there we go, I'm holding both the working yarn and my tail as this one's a little tight to get into this one. Oops, I dropped it out, so I got to go back. My little loop came off, so that's alright. I just put it back through. Then I'll go up here to the top like that. Use both strands, pull the loop through. I think my yarn is splitting. Okay, there we go. My yarn was splitting. Alright, so now I'm just going to kind of take my time and move over. I don't want these so close together. I want to just kind of, now I can drop that tail. I worked it in a couple of stitches. Now I can drop the tail and just work with the working yarn. And I'm going up under 2 strands, and I'm not crowding. I'm just yarn splits, just take it out, put it in again, try it again. Just yarn over the needle, pull up a loop. Okay. I'm just working along, and I am not crowding. I'm just kind of nicely picking up stitches. If I need to skip one little spot to get to another one, instead of jamming them right close together, that's what I'm going to do. Alright, now I'm up to that edge where we started that, where we did the decrease. But remember, I left that stitch kind of like a little stitch on the edge, so that's where I want to go up under. That's where I want to pick up these stitches. Just kind of move it along there. If you rotate this a little bit, you'll see that row of where I left that stitch as we were decreasing, so that I could come back. I knew I was going to pick up stitches, so the decrease line, you will see it, but you won't see this where we're picking up. So I'm just picking up stitches along that, and I'm rotating the fabric so that I can see it. Just like that. I am not crowding. I'm just kind of, but I don't want huge gaps. But I'm not just making little tiny little stitches, crowding it all in. How's that look? Alright, I'm getting up to my seam, and then we'll stop and count and see if I need to back out, and because I want to make it a nice even number or something that makes sense. So I'm up to exactly to my seam, so I'm going to stop now and count and see how many I have. Go down here to the bottom, that's 2, let's see, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. I have 22. Well, now do I want to stay with 22? Or would I want to take them out and pick up more? Well, they're not jammed up, and they're not. So 22. It'd be nice to have maybe 24. Well, let's see. Well, all right. It probably will turn out to be 24 because, look, we have got to reach, all right, now, right here. Now, let me make sure I'm on camera. Check my camera one more time. Okay, right here where the back, where we bound off the stitches, there's a big old gap here. But there's not really a stitch per se, but we have to put something there because it's going to be hard to close that. See how it will be hard to close that? So we do have to, so I had 22, so we'll just go up under 2 strands somewhere. 22, I'm under 2, so that'll be 23, and then right here on this side I'll go up under 2 strands. That's 24. So now I have 24. So remember your number, whatever that number is. I'll remember 24 when I get on the other side of this neck. That's what we'll have to aim for. Now the neck is easy because it was stitches that we bound off. So you'll just go right in up under 2 strands. Kind of see how they, you may have to rotate it a little bit to find how the strands, we bound off the neck. So, and then, like I say, I'm not going to jam them up, and I'm just going to nicely just move over a little bit, pick up a stitch. And I believe I had about 30 or 31. I guess I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't think you have to have all those stitches exactly that number. But nicely just pick up your stitches, not jamming them all up. But just remember that number that we'll have to do once we get past this back next. but try to go up under 2 strands where to make a great connection. All right, get some yarn here. Okay, rotate it if you have to, and you're looking to go up under those 2 strands, go up under the next 2, rotate it around so that you can actually see the stitches, and you do not have to always pick up every stitch. This back section was a little, I believe it had quite a lot of stitches, so if we don't pick up all of them, that will work out just fine. But hold it out every once in a while and see if they're bunched up or if there's too big a gap. You just want it to flow real nice. You know, there's no way to, this is just something you just learn from practice, people. And then sometimes I get it wrong and I have to pull it out. That's the way life, that's the way it goes. All right, so now watch. Now I'm coming over to this section here. Remember that big gap? All right, so I know that I put 2 extra stitches. I had 22, and I went ahead and put 2 stitches to close in this gap. Because watch, when I look over here, if you would hold your neckline and the front and open it up like this, if it goes across real smooth just like this, you have done a good job. If there's a big gap or a split, or you can see, you know, where that separation was, then you need to go back and put extra stitches in there. I filled in 2 stitches. So I had 22 up the front, then I put in 23 and 24. That made it go across nice and smooth, just like that. See, look at the profile. See? That's what you want. You want a straight line. All right, so over here, I need a straight line also. See, there's the seam. But I'm going to, right here, as this neckline ends, you can see it kind of gaps open. I'm going to put in at least 2 stitches so I can count that. That's 1, 2, and remember I needed 24. So now I'm going to have my work cut out for me to try to get 24. So that's 2, that's 3, 4. Let's see. Okay. Oh, now make sure that you're on the edge over here, not on those decrease stitches that you're working on that little edge that I left. I've lost count, but I'm going to keep going, and then I'll just come back and count. Up under those 2 strands right on the edge. Let's see how many we have so far. All right, so I had let's see, I think I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 and 12 is 24, so let's see if I can squeeze in another 12 here. Seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe 12, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't think I'm going to have enough. 11. Okay, I have to be able to go around that corner just like I did, so I'm going to pull back. See, there's a whole lot of them bunched up right there, so Let me pull back a little bit and see, can I grab up? See, can I leave a little more space it out just a little better? I'm taking time to show you that this is just what you have to do. Now, some people may have a system, but I don't know that system. Now, let me see how many I don't. Let's see about how many I have. I should have put a mark where I was up here, but I think I started with this number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17, 18. Oops, a little tight. 18, 19, 20. Well, I'm going to have to back out again. Well, what can we talk about? Now, I could cut this out of the tape, but, I'm just letting you see. There's no magic pill here, people. Knitting is work. But if you get into knitting, knitting will get into you. I got to make it sound exciting. See, I just backed out and see, can I? Because I want to get 24 somewhere at the end and then around that corner. Even if I have to one stitch off, nobody's gonna know it, but I need to get to around that corner so that it will give me a nice, you'll see how nice it looks than trying to just start at the very tip or very point of the front. So I just need to tighten up a little more. That's all. I'm going to have to stop and count and see where I am. It's hard to count, talk, and focus. Entertaining my friends is a lot of work. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I may have it. Or I'm going to say I have it. We're not counting again. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Then I get up to this point. Okay. But I'm not done till I go around and do one stitch right there. Does that make sense? I hope this is showing up. Voila, I ain't counting. I'm saying it's 24. I'm saying it's a match. Okay, so now I've picked up stitches. So now, of course, now we'll have to go to my camera and see if I'm on here. Alright, so now when I turn, let's just put it down here for the camera to see the pickup. And we'll take a look and see how, maybe a little bit how it looks. You might can see a little bit. It might. Alright, let's see. I'm going to have to back out probably. Oh, that's pretty good. Not too much. Okay, so now I have let's see. I have it picked up. I'm seeing my numbers are good. Alright. Now, of course, I've got to count everything. Now, remember, when we're doing the 1x1 ribbing in the round, it had to be an even number. But this is not in the round. We're going to work back and forth. So I do have to count one more time and make sure it's an odd number. Remember? Because it's flat. So but as long as I have this picked up, I can always, after I count and I say, oh, I need one more stitch, well, I can pick up a stitch somewhere in between one of these gaps. Here's a gap here, or somewhere. I can just pick up a stitch just to make sure I come out right. Because I'll start with a knit, okay, and then I want to end the same because we're knitting flat. We're not knitting in the round. Does that make sense? Just like we've done before, just like the bottom of the sweater. Does that make sense? All right, so here's so I'm going to count off camera, and then I will start knitting back around. And like I said, if you're off one stitch, we'll just find a place to stick one. No big deal. That's what we're doing. And that's how you do it. All right, back in just a minute. Okay, since it's late, and I don't have anything else to do and the house is quiet, I thought, let me just come back and just get you started on the one-by-one ribbing. Well, I counted my stitches, and guess how many I had? I had 69. Normally I get a little bit over into maybe 70 something, sometimes. But 69 sounded good to me. Look, woohoo! I just needed an odd number. Remember, you want an odd number because we're going to do the one-by-one ribbing, and we're doing it flat. It's not in the round like the sleeve. So, here we go. And of course, I'm on the wrong side when I start back. And let's see, can I get this just so that I can get it started? I just thought, well, it's late at night, and you probably, look, I don't have nothing else to do, people. I'm thinking I'm going to come back and make sure you've got it. So, do you remember, just like the ribbing at the bottom of the sweater? It's the same thing. Once you ever learn, look, I just do the same thing. All right, the first stitch for me, no matter what, some people slip, I knit the first and last stitch. It is not part of the ribbing, just like on the ribbing at the bottom. The first stitch I'm going to knit. The first and last stitch every time. Now, since I'm on the wrong side, and I know I'm on the wrong side, and you can see that, now the ribbon starts, so I am going to start with a purl 1 because I'm on the wrong side. See, now I'm starting the ribbon. So that's purl 1, yarning back, knit 1. Now we really could have, sometimes I knit a row, but we're going to go ahead. So purl 1, knit 1, because I'm pretty sure I've got a good number. So purl, knit, purl, then yarning back, knit, then yarn in front, purl, then yarn in front, purl, yeah, that's what I said. Yarn in back, knit, then purl, then in the back we knit. It's exactly as if we were putting on the bottom of the sweater. If you lose your count, just go back a little bit, and you can see there's a knit, purl, knit. Now yarn in front, purl, yarn in back, knit, then purl, then knit, then bring it in the front and purl, then knit. All right, so let me just kind of turn it a little bit and just see. It's looking good. All right, so now we're going to do this and work around, and my last stitch before I get to the very edge stitch should be a purl, because we're on the wrong side, so it should end. If I started with a purl, we're on the wrong side, it should end with a purl, and I knit my first and last stitch. You can slip or knit through the back loop, whatever just like you did the ribbing. Then, of course, we will be on the right side. Of course, I will knit my first stitch, and then I will start with a knit 1, purl 1, knit, purl, knit, purl. And that's where, And from that point, we're going to just see how wide or how many inches you want to make your neckline ribbing. You can kind of go from how many inches you did the sleeve. The only thing I'd say is after I made the sweater, like I said, we started from scratch, so I didn't have a finished prototype. Next time I will have a wider bottom here because my sleeves look really nice, but then you have this little small bottom edge, and it's really, to me, not in proportion to the sleeve. The sleeve I did about 2 inches, so this should have been a little wider here. But now I know. But now we're working on the neckline. So as you continue working back and forth, then I will work off camera and I will join back with you, and then I'll let you show me yours and I'll show you mine. All right, keep working. Back in a minute or so. All right, so we're almost to the end. All right, I'm back. I did some work off camera, of course, just like you. I went ahead and I finished up knitting the opposite sleeve. Now both of my sleeves, I knew why I was cutting, couldn't do the other sleeve. When I went back to look at my stash, I remember my yarn was old stash, and I was really running out of yarn. And I thought, okay, so I went ahead and stopped my sleeve, at the little short section. It's about 12 rows or 2 inches, and they match on each side. Looks really pretty. Or if you, like I said, if you want to continue that 1x1 ribbon and see what type of sleeve you can design or see how it fits, because if you don't like it, you can always pull it back. See, we're designing. All right, so then when I left, we had picked up the neck, and we had started to do the 1x1 ribbing going in the round. Now, of course, like I said, once I realized, oh yeah, I remember why I couldn't go any further, because this is old stash yarn, and I thought, let me see. I thought about a collar, but nope, got to stop it. So I have knit the 1x1 ribbing, and nothing has been steamed, so nothing is laying nice and pretty and flat right now. But I have knit this collar at least 12 rows, or about the same, like 2 inches that I did on the sleeve. And next time I make the sweater, and with a different design on all that in it, but I'll know to do at least 2 inches on the bottom also, so that it all flows and matches. See, we're in the learning. This is what we're doing. So now I've started the bind off. Now, this is what I decided. Each sleeve, you had to bind off in pattern to get the nice stretchy, so it looks real nice, okay? Up here, I'm binding off in pattern also. But, I like to just try things. Nothing's written in stone. We're trying things. So, I have the little purl bumps going up the front, because I knit the first and last stitch. So when I got here, I decided to bind off on the wrong side, like I bound off, like I've shared with you. Let me see now if I'm on camera to work some of this bind off. Okay. I don't know why I don't have good light today. I hope this will show up. I could turn on a spotlight, but then it will probably blow it out. I'm on the wrong side of the top edge, the collar, or the edging. See that, the neckline. Now, I still need to bind off in pattern. I want to bind off in pattern this whole. I did it for the sleeves or the little arm space, and even though I'm on the wrong side, I'm going to continue in the 1x1 ribbing. So I have knit, and I see the next stitch is a purl, so I just simply purl that stitch, then reach back and bind off the next stitch. Yarn in back, because the next stitch is a knit stitch, then I reach back and bind off. Yarn in front for the purl stitch, I purl that stitch, hold it, reach back and bind off. Don't move your yarn yet till you finish the stitch. Now the yarn goes in back, because the next stitch is a knit stitch. So I knit that stitch, reach back and bind off. but I am doing it on the purl side because it looked like the front edge. Well, let me do a few more and then I'll show you. All I'm doing is trying things, people, to see what I like. You know, we're not using expensive yarn, we're just trying. Oh, wait a minute, see, that was a purl, so then the yarn has to stay in the position of the stitch. Then your yarn goes in back because the next stitch is a knit stitch, so I reach back and bind it off. The next stitch is a purl, so I bring the yarn in front, try to do it loose, or keep it loose, reach back and bind it off. Then I move the yarn to the back for the next knit stitch, which is right there. So I knit that stitch, reach back and bind off. Yarn in front, purl the next stitch, leave the yarn, hold it, reach back and bind off, then move the yarn. All right, now I'm going to pull up a loop so I don't lose my stitch, and I'm going to turn it. So I thought it would look pretty. It looks like that little beaded border went right on up and turned the corner and is going around my neck. So that's why I decided to bind off on the wrong side. But now you could bind off on the right side too. It doesn't really matter because each sleeve you had to bind off on the right side because we worked them in the round. So either way, I was just, like I say, I'm just trying. I'm trying to, you know, create, trying to see how things look. We don't have a pattern. This is what we are doing. So I'm thinking, oh, that looks kind of like the little beads going around if I do it on the wrong side. But I could have also just bound off on the right side, but stay in pattern for this. So now let me just lay it here, give you an idea how it looks. Of course, not on this video, but I'm finding that if I maybe save the projects and do maybe a finish and a sit and chat, you know, everybody's doing where you sit and then chat, maybe that will help not make my videos, my tutorials so long. Just wait and wear the sweater, and then I can sit and chat and tell you what I like about wearing it, or what I changed about it, or how I'm going to accessorize it, or whatever. So I won't do it on this video, just so that we can get done. But there is the neckline. Does that make sense? Looks really pretty. I put it on. It looks nice. Like I said, the only thing that I would change when we do this sweater again, since we have an idea now, a clue, I would go ahead and make the bottom ribbing, now that I know it needs to be at least 2 inches, so that it balances off. See, it's kind of, this all of a sudden looks out of proportion. I'm about proportion. When you're fluffier size, you want things, the proportion to look right, you know, for our size. So now I know. And then I like the little, I call this my Lands' End style vest, my Lands' End style sweater, because it just, it has a short overhanging ribbing or sleeve, or arm opening, has a high neck. You know how the Lands' End vest always come up kind of high, because I didn't have yarn for a collar. And so now all I have to do is accessorize, which I will do when I wear the sweater and show you. I will find some beautiful buttons. I will, of course, get me a beautiful flower or corsage and come back and do a where I will wear it, and we can talk. And by then I can tell you the pros and cons of this particular style. Number one, Jay's Knit-Along sweater. This is for 2021. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know it takes time. It's not a project. It's not for everyone, but it's for those, like I said, who enjoy working on long projects. I enjoy working on long projects. I learn a lot. Maybe I can't remember it all, but I'm trying to learn. But I'm learning a lot, and then I get to decide, because we're making these sweaters from scratch. All right. I can't think of anything else that I need to share for you to finish this sweater. I just continue around and I will end it over here. I have everything set. Like I said, I'll come back and wear it. So this is Jay. Thank you for the beginning of 2021 for just, I don't know, helping us to put back the thing that was missing, that we missed in 2020. Just a happiness, a gladness, something to look forward to, something to enjoy. And I certainly have enjoyed you participating in my knit along of my sweater style number 1. So I've already got a project in the work. That's why I'm ready to go. So this is Jay, and this is Jay's Knit and Purl Jam saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.